Hi everyone. My name is Vadiraj Thayur. Like mentioned in the introduction, I have more than 18 years of experience in quality and more than 8 years experience in management. Currently working as a director in Trellix. So today's topic that I'm going to present is leading successful teams. Just a small disclaimer. The topic originally titled was Successful Teams, an Experience Share. But I changed that later based on the feedback from my reviewers, right? Looks like that's not updated in the program. Anyways, so okay. So a quick introduction. I covered my experience and a quick overview of my association with PNSQC. I've authored 2 papers in 2012 and 14 and a poster paper in 2015. And I've been a reviewer with PNSQC for 3 years now. On my personal side, travel is one of the hobbies that I really relish. Spending time with my family is something that I enjoy. Music is a passion for me. I love listening to music and also enjoy photography when I'm traveling. So that's a quick introduction. Now coming into the topic, the paper that I'm going to present is titled Leading Successful Teams, right? The main focus of the paper is to enable people leaders to make their teams successful, right? So the paper shares guidelines on what the leaders could do to ensure the team's success. This paper is primarily based on the experiences that I've had in my entire journey in my career. And also it is a mix of what I have followed as well as what I've seen some of my peers or some of my leaders and some of my friends outside the organization follow as well. So there's a total experience share, which could act as a guideline for people leaders to manage their teams successfully. Okay. So introduction. What is a team, right? Let's start with what is a team. There is a definition that's come up on the screen, but I just want to give a quick overview, right? A team is basically a group of people who come together to achieve a common goal, right? And these people, they could have varied backgrounds, they could have varied skill sets, different temperaments, and that's what makes teams really interesting, right? So there are a group of different type of people who come together to achieve a common goal. So that is what makes a team, and that makes managing teams an art, right? Like each team is different, each team member is different, and there is no set of what to say, strict guidelines that you can follow, and you'll have to change your approach as per the team, as per the person in the team, and you'll also have to put in a lot of your own creativity, because situations never come in an expected way, right? There are many unexpected things that keep popping up when you're managing teams. So there's a lot of creativity involved, which makes it an art. And not just the creativity that comes into place. There are also some basic guidelines, right? Like the guidelines that I'm going to share in this presentation. So those guidelines help build a framework and build a structure for anyone who's managing a group of people or a team of people. So that makes it as science as well, right? So managing teams is both an art as well as a science, and the leader should apply their knowledge, their experience, and also apply a lot of creativity in managing situations. So that being said, the management of teams brings up a lot of challenges, right? There are a lot of challenges in managing a group of people. So some of them I've tried to list here, right? One of the main challenges is hiring. So the first thing to form a team is hiring, and ensuring that you are hiring good people is one of the biggest challenges, right? And as people leaders, most of you might know that hiring a good candidate is such a big challenging task. So that's one of the challenges that people leaders face. Then diversity and implications, right? Diversity is a great dimension that is needed in the team, right? And it provides a varied mindset, a lot of different perspectives, a lot of creativity, and that is very key to success of a team. But along with diversity, there are some challenges also that come up, right? Like, for example, just one example, if you're hiring people across different regions, right? So some people who belong to a same region or maybe speak the same language might sort of form like a virtual group, which might disrupt the balance of the team, right? So as leaders, we need to be aware of all the advantages that diversity brings in, as well as be aware of the the drawbacks that could occur when not handled properly. The other challenge is motivating employees, right? I think this is something that each people leader would face constantly throughout their career, right? So keeping employees motivated and keeping them consistently motivated is very key for any leader. So that's one of the very main challenges. Employee development, right? So we concentrate on the outcomes for the company and all that, right? So when we are focused on those outcomes, we should not forget that employees also need their own development, right? As the employee develops, that development will also add on to the success of the team. So that's one challenge, how to enable employee development. Organizational changes, these are some the factors internal to the organization, but external to the team, right? Which could impact, like it could be a change in top management, and it could be a change in the company policy. So a lot of factors within the organization, right, that could impact the mindset of employees within a team. So that's one challenge. Technology changes, right? As you all will agree, right? Technology keeps changing and reinventing and emerging, right? So the team and the team members need to be constantly adapting to the technology changes, and these changes bring about a lot of challenges, right? It could be training, it could be even in hiring, finding the right skill set and all that. And the other challenge is about the job market changes, right? So everyone, I'm sure, would have experienced these phases where the job market opens up and it's really hard. People are getting a lot of offers, a lot of lucrative pay structures and all that. So these job market changes is one of the very significant external factor, right, that might impact the stability of a team. So this is also one of the challenges that the leaders need to be handling if they have to make their team successful. So next, so to having spoken about all these challenges, right, let's move into the approach. So the approach that I'm proposing in this paper is a 9-point approach to successful teams. So each point emphasizes on a different aspect of managing teams. So the first point in the approach is hiring. So naturally, hiring is one of the first steps of forming the team itself, right? So this quote by Steve Jobs sort of gives a very good kickstart to the slide, right? Hiring the best is your most important task as a leader. So hiring the right people and with the right attitude and skill sets is really crucial. So as a leader, we need to make sure that we achieve a balance between all these requirements, right? So in hiring, there are some important aspects that we will have to consider. The first one is attitude. So attitude is something that significantly influences the success of any team, right? So there could be people with great skill sets and they know a lot of technology, but if they don't have the right attitude, they would not fit well into the team or the organization, and they would also eventually bring down the other people in the team. So I would like to quote not one, actually many instances where I have experienced during hiring, right? I've seen a lot of people who did not have the complete skill set that we were looking for in the job role, but they had a very perfect attitude to fit into a team, right? An attitude to learn, an attitude to adapt, and throughout my experience, I've seen people like this thrive well in the teams, right? And they have gone ahead to acquire all those skills that were even missing, right? And grow technically and improve on their skills over a period of time. On the other hand, I've seen people with great skill set who are technically very strong but could never adapt to a team, and they cause a lot of negative vibrations with the team. So attitude, hiring a person with the right attitude is something very important that a leader has to look into. The second aspect is inclusive hiring, right? Like I said earlier, diversity and inclusion, it influences success of teams very significantly. So diversity and inclusion should be embedded into the entire hiring process itself, right from the panel that is doing the hiring to the job advertisements that are made, and then the the wordings that are used in the advertisement and all. We need to really make sure that it speaks a diversity and an inclusive language. So as a leader, we need to make sure that these aspects are taken care in the hiring process. And we also need to make sure that we hire people from diverse backgrounds, right? It's not that we set like a quota for each category or of people, but it is to be open, right, to hire all categories or all the different backgrounds of people, and ensure that there is a very good diversity ratio in the team. And employee referral is another very important thing to consider in hiring, right? When employees within the organization refer, and even more important is if employees within the team refer someone, then they would have given a lot of thought into the person they are referring, because eventually they have to work with the person, right? So there's a lot of thought that goes in, and that also ensures that we get a good skill set person for hiring. And the other dimension is that when an employee within the team refers maybe their friend or colleague, then we are most likely to get skill sets that are similar, or people who are of the same thought process as the employee who's referring, right? So employee referrals are like a quick and much more proven method of hiring people. And in my experience, I've seen a lot of people hired through referrals within the team, and the success rate has been really good there, right? And I also want to quote one of the very interesting statistics, right? Out of the workers hired, only 25% of workers recruited through job boards stayed for more than 2 years. And 45% of employees who were hired through employee referrals stayed for more than 4 years, right? So hiring employees through referrals also helps build a team, and in a way also helps in retaining those employees for a longer period, right? So employee referrals is another thing that a leader should look at in the hiring approach. Okay, then moving on to the next point in the approach is to build trust. I'm sure that everyone would agree that trust is the most important thing that will keep a team together, right? A team that does not have trust among the people in the team, as well as trust with the leader, right, that is not going to survive or not going to deliver. So transparency, trust, and mutual respect are like three interlinked pillars. And even if one of these pillars is broken or compromised, right, then the team will definitely fail. So some of the very important aspects to consider in building trust is one is to build a friendly atmosphere, right? The leader has to ensure that the atmosphere within the team is not sort of very strict or very formal. So there should be some level of informality in the atmosphere, right? That helps ease the pressure and ease the stress that the members face when they go through the work pressures, right? So building a friendly atmosphere is something that the leader should practice and also preach to the team members. The other one is the leader's involvement, right? So the leader plays a very important role in driving trust through their involvement, right? One is that the leader should be very much involved in the day-to-day activities of the team. The leader should always be there to help the team whenever they face roadblocks, and should always be there to guide the team, right? The other aspect of involvement is that the leader should involve the team members in key decision making, right, wherever possible. I'm sure that team members cannot be involved in all the decision making. There are some decisions that the leader has to take on own, right? But there are some decisions that the leader can involve the entire team, take their opinion. So that will drive a sense of involvement in the team, and that will also help build trust within the team as well as with the leader. And the third very important aspect of trust is transparency, right? So transparency within the team, and the transparency that the leader sets up is something that will go a long way in ensuring success of the team. So the leader should be transparent whenever feasible, right? Should be explaining the decisions made, and also the rationale behind the company policies, the roadmap, and all that, so that the employees are also aware of what is the thought process behind these decisions, and they also feel involved, right? So this transparency, again, with a disclaimer that transparency can be done only in certain scenarios, or not all decisions or not all information should be openly shared. That I'm sure everyone will be aware of, right, as leaders. So that optimal level of transparency, right, is very important in building the trust within the team. Okay. Then moving on, the next point in the approach is to always be in sync, right? So the leader and the team should always be in sync. So as a team which is completely in sync, right? The deliverables and the outcome is naturally, well oiled, and the expected outcome, right? So the leader should always ensure that the team is always up to date, and he always make sure that the team is aware of all the things happening in the company. So some important things, like I said, is that the team should be aware of, actually even aware of what each member is working on within the team, because if the team has a diverse set of deliverables, then it could well be that each member has their own work area, and the other members need to be aware of what each other is working on. So that will also ensure that when there are situations where some help is needed, they can help other people move ahead in their path. The other part is that the leader also should be aware of what is going on in the team, right? What each member is working on. So one, to make sure that everything is going in the right direction, right? And also to make sure that there is no roadblock, and the team members are unblocked of any of the obstacles that they might face. The other part of leader being aware is about the achievements of each team member, right? This can be achieved through the one-on-one discussions with the team members, and also by being involved in the activities of the team. The leader can be aware of what is happening in the team, what each member has achieved, and all that. So making these being aware of these achievements will actually go a long way in establishing trust with the team members, right? So in my opinion, the ideal situation should be that the leader is aware of each and every achievement of team members, and when there is a one-on-one discussion or a performance appraisal that's going on, the leader should be able to point out some achievements that the team member has forgotten to mention. So that should be the level of involvement that the leader has with the team. So if the leader is totally aware of what each member is doing and achieving, right, that gives the team members also a great level of satisfaction, and they also get a lot of trust with the leader, that there is someone who is aware of their achievements and who is always there to guide them. So yeah, being aware of the achievements of the team members is something very important that the leader has to practice. Okay. Next one, the next point in the approach is ownership. So an efficient leader is one who delegates work to team members, right? And I think this part of ownership was also covered very well in the previous paper presentation by Jeff. So he also emphasized on the same concept of ownership, right? So an efficient leader is one who delegates work to team members, right? But a smart leader is one who delegates ownership to team members. So this delegation of ownership is something that helps the team grow, as well as helps the leader also to grow. So some key aspects that we'll have to consider in ownership is, the first one is no micromanagement, right? The leader should ensure that they do not get into this mode of micromanagement, because it's very easy when there are a lot of deliverables to be met and a lot of work pressure. It's very easy to get into this mode of micromanagement where the leader gets involved in each and everything and keeps track of what each person is doing, and goes into that micromanagement mode, right? So this does not really help in the long run. It creates a sort of a gap in trust between the employee and the leader, because the employees start feeling that my leader does not trust what I'm doing, so that's why I'm being constantly monitored. And the other side of micromanagement is that this requires a lot of time from the leader to micromanage each and every person, right? So that means that the leader has very less time to think beyond all this, right? Because the leader's thought process should be beyond all these day-to-day activities, and start looking at the bigger picture, right? The roadmap, and how to up level this skills of people, how to take the team to the next level and all that. So if the significant time is spent on micromanagement, then the leader would not have enough time to think on all these next level imperatives. So micromanagement should be avoided. The other aspect is about ensuring visibility, right? So the leader should ensure that the team is totally aware of what's happening within the organization, what decisions are being made, what is the roadmap, and all that, right? That makes the team aware of what they're working on and how it is impacting at the bigger level, like how it is helping the company achieve certain objectives. That drives a lot of employee engagement, because they know how exactly they are contributing to the company's success. The other part of visibility is that the leader should ensure that each team member gets visibility among other teams, and also among other leaders at the org and at the company level. So when people in the team start taking ownership of maybe a component or a project or some area, right, and start driving that, the leader can ensure that whenever there's a presentation or a demo or some meeting around that area, right? That particular team member represents the team and shares the information, does the demo and all that. That ensures that the team member gets a visibility in the wider organization, in the group, and that also helps in their growth, right? That also builds that level of trust with the leader. And the third point, and a very significant point, is to build the next level leadership, right? So here I would say that the leader needs to have some not some, actually the leader needs to be like selfless in their thought process, right? They should not think that if my team members start doing everything that I do, then I become redundant, right? That shouldn't be the thought process. So ideally, a leader should build the team in such a way that for whatever reason, the next day the leader is not there, the team should still be able to execute with minimal or no disturbance, right? So that should be the level of leadership, the second level leadership that the leader builds within the team. And that actually also benefits the leader, because that helps them start looking at bigger picture items and start concentrating on their own growth, and that clears the path for their growth in the management ladder. So these are some of the aspects of ownership, right? And in to share my experience with ownership within my team, each member in the team owns maybe a component or some part of the project. Like there's a person who owns automation, and there's a person who owns performance, one for security, and people own different components, right? So that level of ownership helps me focus on the bigger picture, and I need not get into the day-to-day details of what is going on in each of these areas. So we discuss what is the goal, what is the thing to be achieved, and then how that needs to be achieved. That is driven by the owners, right? And that builds their skills in leadership. Then it gives them a level of satisfaction, and it also keeps them engaged and motivated, right? So that's one thing that I have experienced as a benefit of building ownership. Coming to the next point, that's freedom. So freedom, actually, there are two aspects that it impacts, right? One is the freedom of thought, the freedom to experiment, that gives rise to a lot of creative ideas, and there are a lot of inventions that come up, patents and all that stuff, right? And also the other aspect of freedom is that it drives away that fear in the mind of people, that there is something bad that's going to happen if they fail. So some important aspects to be considered for freedom is to ensure that there is no fear of failure. So I have personally seen leaders who pinpointed people whenever there is a failure, right? Like there is some escalation from the field, or something went down in the production infrastructure, and I've seen leaders who are ready to find who was the cause of the problem, right? It could be a DevOps person or a QA person or whatever it is, right? And take some measures against the person, and that really does not help anyone, right? On the other hand, I've seen a lot of leaders, and this is something that I believe very strongly, right? That whenever there's a failure, the first thing we have to look at is how to come out of that failure, right? How to resolve it. And once that is done, the next step should be to see how to prevent the failure in future, right? We should avoid going back and digging into who caused the failure and how we could maybe punish the person or stuff like that, right? So building this culture of no fear of failure, that really helps people take up ownership, right, and take accountability for what they need to deliver. And that will really help build a robust team. So and that fear of failure should be totally eliminated from the team, right? The other very interesting and a debatable topic is about leaves. So at least in my experience, right, if team members are like engaged, and if they have a sense of ownership, and if they feel free to take their decisions, right, then they also have the sense of accountability when they have to apply for leaves, right? So as a leader, I believe that we shouldn't be restricting people from taking leaves. Like I have seen people who force people to cancel their leaves because there is some release, or maybe they think that work could be impacted and all that. I agree there could be situations where there is urgency, there is a need to release something very important, and some important person taking leave might impact, right? There are some outliers like that, but generally it is good to build that culture where employees are free to avail their leaves or vacation or time off, right? That drives indirectly, that drives a level of ownership or accountability in the employee, that they should consider what is the higher priority when they are thinking of taking leaves. Because I believe if an engaged employee thinks of taking a leave, there is definitely some work that is of higher priority than something that they're trying to do here, right? So that thought would have already gone through their minds before they apply for leaves, right? And I have seen over the years that when we build all the the different cultural aspects like freedom, then trust, and all that into the team, then naturally this issue of people taking leaves and all that gets automatically handled, and people are responsible enough to take leaves as and when needed based on the priority of work, right? I even know people who come back to me and say, I'm ready to cancel my leaves because I know that there is something important going out. So I'm ready to cancel my leave because I think my work can wait for a day. So I can work on the release. So that is the level of involvement that we can build by imbibing all the other aspects. Then the third aspect is about flexibility, right? And this is very important in the current situation or the recent situation, which is caused by the pandemic, right? So it is good to always build a level of flexibility in the work, like we've known the challenges that we face while working from home, right? There are a lot of family commitments, some personal work, and all that that needs to be done in between office work as well. So building that level of flexibility in the way people work really helps them, balance their personal work as well as the official work, right? And that gives them also the motivation to get back to work and complete whatever was supposed to be done within the time period. So that's another important aspect of freedom. Then career path, right? So we've spoken about all these things about team achieving the goals and people being engaged and all that, but very often leaders forget to concentrate on the career of their employees, right? So in the long run, as employees grow in their role and as they achieve more and more skill sets and also advance their learning, that's when the team also grows, right? Otherwise, people get stagnated in what they're doing, and over a period of time they start feeling what am I doing here? Why should I be here, right? So they start thinking of other options. So building a career path for employees is really important. So the first thing that the leader should do is to have a level of clarity with each employee, right? To understand what each employee is looking at, maybe 3 or 5 years down the line, whether they want to go into a managerial role or they want to become like a tech specialist. And then they should design their activities and their goals accordingly. And one important thing that could help is to find a mentor in that particular path and pair with the employee that will help them take control of their own growth and go ahead with the help of the mentor. And this clarity that we can establish with the career path will also help in the performance appraisals and all that, right? That will not bring up any surprises at the time of appraisal. The other aspect is about higher education. So most organizations would have programs to ensure that employees upskill, they achieve their masters or maybe some certifications and all that. So as a leader, we should constantly encourage employees to pursue their higher education and also make sure that those tie into the team or the organization goals, right? For software engineer, doing a master's in painting or something really does not help the organization. So some related field, if they could encourage and help the employee achieve higher education, that keeps the employees motivated and involved, right? The third one is interesting. There could be situations despite all this, right, where an employee is looking for some some different area of work, or they're looking at something that they're not getting in this team, right? So they might want to look at other opportunities. So here the leader needs to think beyond the team, right? So the thought process should be that if my team cannot satisfy the needs of a particular employee, then let's look out for something within the organization, right? Even though my team might lose a valuable resource, at least my organization will benefit, some other team in my organization benefits, right? So enabling this alternate career opportunity will build that goodwill with your employees, and you never know, at a later point that person might even think of coming back into your team, right? So the next very important aspect is leadership, right? We spoke about all this in terms of leadership itself, and there are some important points that I would like to highlight here. So Leader is basically a facilitator, right? Leader is not someone who controls. Leader is someone who helps the team, right? Who unblocks the team from moving ahead. So facilitating people to move ahead is something very important that the leader has to do. The other thing is to ensure that the leader does not end up being a dictator, right? So this also ties into ownership, right? Guide your people on what needs to be done, right? Like what is the eventual goal, and then leave it to them on how they do it. Right? Do not micromanage and do not dictate. So that will help people grow and also will achieve the goal. And many times it might, bring up some surprises, some pleasant surprises, some innovations, and all that.
Right.
The other,
Quick
yeah,
question, Vadiraj. Like a few more minutes to go, and we are already
sure.
running out of time.
Okay. Yeah, I'll wrap up.
Thank you.
The other one is managing conflicts. I'm sure everyone would have gone through this, right? There are both positive and negative conflicts. So positive or constructive conflicts are very good for any team to move ahead, and negative conflicts should be handled appropriately by the leader, right? And an important aspect is reward and recognition, right? So rewarding and recognizing the right people at the right time is very important. And the time is something very significant, right? Many occasions, a reward that is delayed is as good as a reward not given. So we should find innovative ways to reward and also ensure that the right people are rewarded. Then another important thing is celebration, right? This might seem very trivial, but this is something that most people miss out. But this is something that can really keep the team together. So leaders should ensure fun in day-to-day activities. Maybe go out for coffee together, have lunch together, and have some informal chats, and all that helps bond the team together, right? And also never forget the occasions, like it could be birthdays or work anniversaries and all that. So do some small celebrations within whatever company policy prescribes, right? All those help keep the team together, right? And one important experience that I had during the pandemic, you all might have experienced, like people were remote and there was no bonding and bonding between the team members, and there was a sort of separation, right? So one thing that we tried was to ship some goodies for the the festival season, and also to send out some special gifts to people for their anniversaries and all that. So that really helped bring in that level of motivation back, right? So as leader, we should try to innovate and find out these unique opportunities to reward. The last aspect, but very interesting one, is separation, right? Or you could relate that to attrition. It's really difficult to get good people, and when we have them, we should make the best use of the opportunity, right? So attrition is something that a leader has to face invariably, right, at some point in time. So the key aspect is how can we make this a positive experience, right? So first, whenever someone says that they want to quit, the first thing to be done is to seek feedback, right? Find out if there is something we could do. If the employee is really good and worth retaining, we could even make a counter offer, try a hike, and maybe offer a different role and all that. So seeking feedback will help do all this retention tactics, right? If that does not work out, at least try to find if there is some suitable role within the organization, right? Some other team, so that at least the organization benefits. And if that does not help, at least see if you could help the person maybe find a job outside, maybe refer them to some friends that you know, and help them, get a good opportunity, right? That helps, build that trust and also a goodwill with the employee, right? And in some situations, right, this attrition could also be a blessing in disguise. There are people who might be, dragging along, not doing well and all that. And sometimes as a leader, you have these situations where they try to resign, and that actually is something that could be a blessing in disguise for you. So yeah, separation is something that we could make it as a positive experience. Okay, having said all this, there are always exceptions, right? These are all guidelines, but based on the situation, there could always be exceptions. Like there could be crisis situations where you have to do some level of micromanagement, but you should make sure that you should not take it in a long duration, right? There could be instances where the freedom given is being abused or is being misused. So as a leader, we should take necessary action to make sure that's taken care. Then retention of people should be on a discretionary basis, right? Not try to retain each and every person, just go by merit. Then rewarding also should not be overdone. It should be done judiciously. And then transparency and confidentiality, as I said before, not everything can be discussed, not everything can be made transparent, right? So that's one exception. Then referral hiring also has some drawbacks. You might end up hiring the same mindset of people. There might be groupism that forms, so we should be aware, and we should tackle those situations, right? The company policy also sometimes does not allow some of these guidelines to be used, so we should be wary of that. And of course, the pandemic has changed a lot of things, so most of these can still be applied in the remote working world, but there are some things which might need some small tweaking, like I spoke about the innovative ways of rewarding and all that, right? That will help tailor the situation as per the need. So as I move on to my last slide, I would like to reiterate that leadership is both an art and a science. And the challenges as a leader will really change from team to team, organization to organization. So we need to be creative in devising strategies to make teams successful. So having said that, thank you. I'm open for questions. Any?
Thank you, Vadiraj. Anyone has any questions or good to go? Hey, thank you, Vadiraj, and I'm closing now.
Was his contact information somewhere? Like
yeah, it is on the PNSQC website. Yes, yeah. And also you will get this presentation soon.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Because everything is recorded.
Excellent. I like all his quotes. Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.